Memoji always considers himself as heir to live because he had to go through a painful childhood. He was beaten by his biological father instead of eating rice every day. He was forced to follow the right hand and foot rule. He had terrible memories. That terror haunted Memori in his dreams, and when he returned to reality, he was dozing off on the school bus when he was woken up by Osama's hearty laughter. He was bullying the class president. Beautiful Azaka. Many people saw this scene and were extremely indignant but chose to stay silent because they didn't want to get involved in trouble. Even their homeroom teacher turned a blind eye. Memoji was no exception, knowing that he was just an unnoticed character in class. Even if he spoke up, he wouldn't be able to do anything. But when things got too bad, for some reason, Memoji still stood up to stop Osama, and immediately made a face. Pretending to say don't think that's cool right now, Takuto suddenly intervened, but not to defend Memoji but to tell Osama to return the book to Azaka, and whatever he wants to do with Memoji is up to him. So listen for now. Time to transfer anger to the friend hut not next to him, continuously kicking his chair to warn Memoji when the forest car is dead to him. Teacher Osama will pressure that student to the point of thinking about pants, so he told him to control, if not, he will suffer the consequences because he is the one in charge here. Memoji still cannot believe that he just did such a rash action. Suddenly, a beam of light covered the entire bus. With the goddess's prayer, all the students were instantly transported to another world. At first, they thought they were being invited to a Japanese burial program, but the goddess Vyas spoke up. She said that she was the one who summoned the students here to help destroy the great demon king. 200 years ago, a similar thing happened. Thanks to the efforts of the heroes, the demon king was destroyed. However, he is gradually reviving, so Virus must borrow the power of heroes from another world to destroy him again. The students are still skeptical, but the teacher reassures him. I told the students to believe in the goddess because just by looking at that soul he knew Vyos was a good person. Only Mimi silently watched him, silently pinching herself and confirming everything that was happening. It is true that if they can't destroy the great demon king, they won't be able to return to the old world. On the contrary, if they can get the great demon king's heart or use the special gem to absorb the evil king, the goddess can perform the ritual to reverse the summoning to bring them back to earth, forced to fight, making the bastard extremely dissatisfied. But instead of snapping his fingers and making him disappear, Vuz knelt down and prayed. Azaka sincerely asked for their help and wondered how the students there, who were all ordinary people, could defeat a dark force like the great demon king as if they had prepared everything. The goddess said she would give the warriors powers that ordinary people could not have. She told them to bring out a criminal along with another hungry monster that had been locked up for a long time. The chain had just been loosened when the monster rushed to bite and tear the prisoner and chewed the goddess's dipper. Just one poke of fireball could have turned it into a dog. Witnessing this scene, all the students were shocked. Obedient as a dog, participating in the aptitude test that Vicious requested, surprisingly, these students with problematic ethics had extremely high talent. Osama even achieved level A, making him proud of him. Takuto's life was even more fierce. He broke the appraisal ball. Because of his great power and received the highest level, S-class, the class president was also S-class. My sisters were evenly matched. The high level made the goddess so happy that she couldn't close her mouth and turned the memory ball over, only emitting a faint purple light. The goddess looked at it boredly and didn't even bother to say anything. She directly ignored the level announcement and invited someone else stepped up to check it out to save time. Memoji also anticipated that he would be a supporting character, but he also didn't expect that even after coming to another world, he wouldn't be able to get better. The biggest surprise was still the cowardly friend. Was bullied by Osama this morning. He made the daring ball emit black light, symbolizing that he is the dark hero who was praised as the strongest goddess. Happy for a reincarnation season, she instructed the students to check the Memoji status board. Not surprised that all his stats were at the lowest, his inherent skill was fixed. Abnormal status must explain that the fixed skill possession is a special skill that each person has. Some are born with it, but some have to go through awakening to be able to possess it. Osama found this introduction extremely boring and was about to go home to sleep when he was scolded by the teacher for a match, but he is a level A warrior and the teacher is only a level D warrior and he is Osama's teacher. It's been a while. The teacher listened but was too shy to teach anything more. Then the virus announced that there would be an important ceremony and called Mimi to step forward, thinking that this fan he will receive the main character's halo, but the cruel truth is he has the lowest level among the heroes, so he was lucky to be chosen as the reincarnator to the next world, or in other words to be blown away to avoid shocking the other heroes by killing him on the spot. Vyos gave him a chance to go to a ruin and fend for himself. If Memoji survive, then Ali will not interfere and let him live freely. It must be said that the most dangerous criminals are sent to that ruin as a humane death sentence of Ali. The ruin that Mimon is sent to has the name as Waste Remnant, a name worthy of someone of E level like Mimo. He immediately told the goddess that he had an inherent skill of assigning abnormal status that could maintain paralysis or poison. The goddess heard and felt bored because in this world, abnormal status skills are almost worthless because the rate of hitting the target is too low, the effectiveness is not high, and the effective time is also too short. In other words, the skill Memoji's ability listed as a bug. Hearing this makes Memoji desperate. He doesn't understand why the hell he was summoned here and then eliminated. Not only did the other students not stand up to defend him, but also urged the goddess to finish the procedure quickly so they could go home and sleep. At this time, Gasu appeared at school. He was always the target of bullying. Memoji was the only one who reached out to help, but at the moment, he reached level A and got the title of Dark Hero. He was completely corrupted. He looked at Memori with eyes for mice and bugs, just like when he was bullied. It's true that the hurt person wants to hurt others. In the end, Memoji was still thrown into the teleportation circle. The goddess threw him a bag containing a special item that every hero received when summoned here. Azaka was now very indignant. She asked the goddess to let go of Memoji, and the result was being punched unconscious by the goddess. She did it as if to prove that even an S-class warrior could be defeated easily, let alone an E-class. As pathetic as Memori saw Azaka being beaten, he was extremely angry, so he put all his strength into attacking the goddess. But his moves were no different from a single piece of stainless steel. Seeing that, Takato got excited and wanted to test his strength. However, the S-class and E-class are too different. Seeing that, the students have no regrets about a defective product like Memoji. He himself has to accept his fate. When Mimo cries, he remembers himself when he was young. Also crying miserably like now, another self told Mimo that no matter how much he restrained himself and tried to act harmless, his nature was still something else. He advised Memoji to reveal his true self. Really suddenly Memoji smiled evilly when cursed the goddess if he could survive, then she would take care of her soul. Then Memoji was taken to the ruins. He couldn't open the status board. My stayed up due to limited vision. Memoji had to infuse magic into the gem on the bag to get some light. But let it be said that not seeing is better than swimming. Everywhere in the ruins are all human bones cut very cleanly. When realizing that something must have caused it, Memoji was being chased by that monster. He hid the light that was luring the monster. He followed his survival instinct and ran forward, his body trembling and frozen with fear. That was Memoji's initial assessment, but then he realized he was wrong. It wasn't fear but a feeling of suffocating hatred towards the bastards who pushed him here in hand without a weapon. All stats were pitifully low, making Memoji sink into despair. He attacked as a natural reflex. Unexpectedly the monster fell into a state of paralysis, but the goddess said even monsters, the lowest level object, the abnormal state also rarely hits the target, must have just used all his luck to survive. Believed that, so he ran headfirst because of bad luck. So he immediately met another monster. Its fiery killing intent made Mimo afraid that he didn't want to die, so once again used the abnormal status move. Unexpectedly the monster fell into paralysis. If it wasn't for the previous moment, if it was luck, then it's very possible that his abnormal status skill and what people know about it in the other world are two different things. However, Memoji was out of energy because he used this move 3 times in a row. If he encountered a monster again, he would be done for, so he tried using the poison status on the monster just now. The two abnormal statuses combined together, causing the monster to continuously writhe in pain. This proved that the duration and effectiveness of the skill that Memoji possesses is extremely high, not useless like the goddess said. At this time, his energy has reached 0. He doesn't know what will happen if he continues to use the skill. But the first monster had escaped from its paralysis and was baring its fangs and claws towards Memoji. In a normal situation someone would have come to save the main character like him, but since he was a child Memoji still had to surviving alone. He thought he was nothing more than a supporting character. Now, another crazy ego in Mim has awakened. He must risk using his inherent skills once again to live. Mimi used paralysis state, but the system informed that you cannot use the same skill on an individual consecutively, so you have to change to sleep state. The monster immediately collapsed. Memoji tried to plant more poison skills that monster. As a result its health bar was halved. However, when his energy gauge was 0, the next thing consumed would be energy. Fate's passive was just like a joke because in front of Memoji was a whole bunch of monsters. He had to bet on whether he would run out of energy before the other two. That bunch of monsters would fall into an abnormal state. That said, looking at the swarm of monsters as numerous as ants, Memoji knew that this trip, the less you heal, the more you keep. Memoji continuously uses the paralysis skill on them. After a while, his eyes were blurred and his mind felt dizzy because of exhaustion. The monsters seemed to be unharmed. Memoji couldn't do anything but eat a lot. He still stubbornly used his inherent skill until he was really exhausted. Memoji had poured all his anger into the final blow, and suddenly the system announced that his level had increased and his energy had also been restored. It turned out that the monster that Memoji had originally fought was dead, so he had gotten a lot of experience points and leveled up. When he realized he can continue to fight and get stronger, Memoji has used the skill non-stop, terrifying its own level, and the effect of the status is also stronger. Memoji now can make many monsters get abnormal status at the same time. When he realized his abnormal state only had no effect on the goddess, but when he arrived at this wasteland, their attack rate was all 100 ph. However, there were limitations such as not being able to plant the same skill. Up an individual still not eliminated fruit a time kill monster. Memoji no longer afraid to hit. On the contrary, he also considered them a giant experience point store. Memoji realized his other stats all increase accordingly, equivalent to the level where only the energy level is abnormally high. Just in time, this is the material to use the inherent skill that helps him survive in this dead wasteland. Now Mimo just needs to sit and wait for the time to come. Maintain the state of ending to receive experience points and continue to use skills. In general, fighting like this is also leisurely. Although the level is still increasing continuously, Memoji is not subjective. The monsters are after a while of useless death. Realizing that running away was the best policy after they left, Memoji picked up a few weapons for self-defense. In the ruins there were a lot of corpses, so he didn't know if there was food and water here. Suddenly remember, those monsters, don't they also have the shape of cows and chickens? Memoji tried to cut their meat with a knife but failed. He had to aim for a weaker spot like the eyes. Looking at the horror lying on the ground, my took courage to try a piece, then realized that these bodies were all filled with acid liquid. When he was helpless, then he remembered the bag that the goddess threw him. The gem at the mouth of the bag had turned purple. He continued transfer magic into it until the mouth of the bag opened. Inside there is a can of Coke and a bag of snacks. This is like a life buoy for Mimo. After eating and drinking he is full. He continues to kill monsters. Top monsters. After finding him, he was stronger than the previous TP monster, which means Memoji will receive more experience points than Memoji. It's like a king sitting on the throne enjoying a deadly death feast below. Even though he survived, he made Memoji afraid of himself because when he was a child, when his father abused him, he had thoughts of either killing or being killed. Luckily, a social worker arrived in time to give him human warmth and pull him back from those dark emotions. But now Memoji feels nothing as he takes the lives of monsters alone, with the voice always echoing in Memoji's head calling on you to accept your true self. Slowly transformed into a new Memoji continued walking. He discovered a gem that tested magic power into it. Then the gate opened unexpectedly. There were also abandoned heroes who could come to this place. Memoji couldn't see bloodstains, so he guessed that they died of starvation. After asking permission from the two spirits, he asked for a bag of gems because this would be necessary when returning to the ground to explore the 25th room. The energy level must be infused into the gem to open the door more and more. Inside there is also the corpse of a person who was abandoned. Memoji found a letter and was surprised to find himself reading the words of this world. The owner of the letter is also a dark warrior like Yasu. He was banished to the ruins by the goddess Veos because he was considered useless. He risked his life to bring something into the ruins and wanted to entrust it to someone who could leave the place, because he knew he couldn't survive. The more he read Memoji, the more he hated that goddess. She called the great demon king evil, but she herself was evil, and Memoji didn't care about saving this world. He just wanted revenge. Vios. After a while of searching, Memoji discovered a forbidden book of 100 flowers containing recipes for making medicine and magical tools. Along with that was a forbidden book of spells, but he couldn't read it. What is written there? That a great sage who was praised as the strongest risked his life to bring here. It must be a very powerful forbidden technique, so if you can decipher it, you can have the trump card to fight the goddess who opened the scroll. The 100 Flowers encyclopedia that caught Memori's eyes was a warning to be careful of the spirit-soothing monster. Everyone had been bitten by it. The more carefully he walked forward, the more corpses he discovered. There is a gate that is suspected to be the way to the surface, but Memoji must find the key to open it. The dark warrior who was considered the strongest cannot defeat the soul eater, so Memoji on the way here tried level up to the highest level. You may have seen the soul reaper was about to use its inherent skill but was injured by it, most likely right when you attacked. The beam was activated to escape. Then you need the gem on the head of the soul eater, but he also had to spend time reading the skill name, so being able to hit the soul eater before being attacked by it seemed impossible. At this moment the nearby wall suddenly collapsed. It has started to move. This could be the last survival battle you will face in the ruins. On the other hand, outside the ruins there is also a blonde girl. She seems to be running away from something, so chose to step into the ruins on the side of the soul eater. Mimo still indifferently calm, even though it knew clearly where he was. It spat a disgusting pink liquid in its mouth skin, then recreated them into the appearance of people being thrown away. The scary expression on their faces was the last moment when the soul eater seemed like it wanted to see Mimi's reaction and happily enjoyed his fear. The soul eater's singing made Memoji deafening. Incredibly, it slowly opened its eyes and opened its mouth. Luckily his skill also worked on the recreated entities as facing The humanoid enemy really couldn't do anything to it than with brutal skills, so he still hasn't degenerated to the point of being able to consider human souls as toys like monsters. Seeing Memoji weak, the Soul Eater wants to toy with him even more by recreating more people, was abandoned again, then enjoyed the despair of Memoji watching him cry and struggle while the Soul Eater believed it and got closer and closer to him. Without any defense, as a result was beaten by Mimo unexpectedly to the point of not having time to react. It is true that the inner self of a schizophrenic can play two roles just like a Hollywood actor. When the Soul Eater sticks to the chief, the level of the paralysis skill has also increased over the years. Memoji has he lied to himself that he was just a harmless, invisible, nameless, and asexual person, but now the beast inside him was unleashed. He didn't care if the simulators looked human or not, as long as they had killing intent. With him they couldn't survive, and now it was Memoji who was enjoying the Soul Eater's despair as it was defeated by a mere mortal like him. After a single stack of the Soul Eater's abnormal state, the more damage is taken, the more the last skill Memoji uses is sleep, so that all the souls that have been eaten can return to their peaceful place. They congratulate Memoji for surviving and are happy as if they themselves did it. So they witnessed all the crazy things Memoji did in the ruins. The great sage also appeared and gave one last message to Memoji to punch the goddess in the face for him. Actually, he didn't need to ask Mimi to wanna make Vios taste pain while Memoji is writhing in survival in the ruins. Other students are also working hard cakewalk to level up. Just with the few monsters in the wild, then the level up speed of they are also slow as snails. Even some of the shy girls poo like don't dare to kill monsters. This makes Asagi feel that their class will sooner or later wither away. She can't understand the level division, as the more annoying personalities get higher levels while she is only level B. At this rate, factional division is inevitable, so in order to get good members Asagi is forced to. She only has the level to make sure no one will accept her. Takao's sisters always work in pairs. In short, if Popo clearly understands her position, she must join the team. Asagi, they had prepared monsters for Popo to practice with, but when she saw them she was still hesitant to raise her hand. Only when Asagi said she could be eliminated like Memoji, she was forced to point her sword towards the monster. Its screams like a child made her close her eyes and take a risk to be able to finish it off. First time taking a life, Popo was immersed in very strange feelings. She remembered Memori. He used to be such an animal lover that he saved a dirty cat that had a serious accident on the street. The more she thought about it, the more helpless she became, because at that time she didn't have the courage to stand up and stop the goddess. On the other hand, the only person who did that was Asaka. She just woke up after being beaten by Vios. However, she immediately went to her place and pretended to be a cat crying and a mouse. She said, "Get rid of me." The weak is the law. Forced again. Allah also does not want to have to do that. On the contrary, Asaka, she should not be sad for too long, because everyone has started doing quests to level up. If she is left behind like the weak, then sooner or later it will be eliminated, because that is the law. Of course, Asaka cannot approve of this inhumane way, so that she does not target her classmates again. Asaka declared in the name of S-Class hero that she will. The goddess immediately changed her attitude because she never looked down on the strong, so she asked to shake hands with Asaka and explained that at that time she just wanted Asaka to calm down, so she punching her just hurt a little, but Asaka innocently reached out her hand and was grabbed painfully with a warning that was like, "There was no warning, I was expecting a lot from you." And that goddess's hand was cold at this time. There was a princess being chased by the holy guards hunting dogs. Even though she had hidden her presence, just because of a little carelessness that broke a tree, the hunting dogs were still able to track her down. She even chased and jumped for 2 more minutes to give it prestige towards Memoji. When he escaped from the ruins, he discovered that only his energy index had increased sharply, while the level and other indexes are all similar. The abnormal states he possesses can also be dispelled, and said it will because of Tomo, so he wanted to find monsters to experiment with. But first, Memoji still wanted to find a sword because it can help him hide his identity as a person using the state of intelligence. Instead, he came across a group of slimes. It seemed like one of them was being beaten up. Saw that slam, although small but fiercely, resisted Memoji. Also did not hope. He didn't expect much from it being able to win. Just seeing it fighting so stubbornly made Memoji think of himself, so he decided to give it a hand and might as well try the disarm feature as well. Like the unstable status custom settings, he consecutively used 2 poison and paralysis effects on the remaining blue mobs, then selected dispel, causing them to immediately exit the unstable status. Memoji let it go and immediately ran away. Only the little lamb stayed. Memoji apologized for not saving it sooner, but it was also very resilient. He removed the paralysis from it and told it to remember to live. Good, but this lamb girl liked you, so she kept following Memori innocently. At first you didn't pay attention, but partly because it called Pie cute and partly because you felt sorry for someone who was used by his own kind, so you taking it in by chance when it climbed onto his hood could help him observe the blind spots behind him while studying the Sage's Forbidden Book. It really did have a way to strengthen monsters and instructions in it. Details on how to use chemicals to strengthen the lamb. Memoji immediately told it, "You are on a very fierce path of revenge. If you have chosen to follow you, don't give up. Unexpectedly, the SL lamb turned from green to red to express anger on his behalf, meaning it is also determined to take revenge like him. Memoji, also named Slam Pimu, from now on I will call it Pi for short. On the other hand, the blonde princess, because she was exhausted because having to run away continuously, she was finally followed by the hunting dogs to this point, so she was forced to fight, so she summoned the spirit costume. Following the light from the princess's sword, the spirits gathered into one layer, protect around her and become a protective armor for the hounds. Also accidentally discovered Memoji nearby. Seeing him seemed shy, so did not bother to attack him. In return, he had to leave everything behind. Worth. On the other hand, the hunting dogs are also wanting to chase the princess, so they want to quickly deal with him. Listen to the way they want to kidnap women and have fun with them that Memoji has judged rotten personality of these guys. Memoji intended to take the opportunity while they were discussing this issue to retreat, but was discovered by the guy with the crosshairs. Memoji started to show the Hollywood actor trend of showing fear and confusion. Luckily, his unstable state also works on humans, so Memoji escaped as expected. Only that goddess is special, the hunting dogs are just a bunch of trash. The pie in the back heard it too. Must agree with Memoji. In short, even if these guys die, you won't feel heartbroken. It's even refreshing. On the other hand, killing intent is not as good as killing intent, and evil is not as good as evil. That's called the law of an eye for these guys. Not his opponent, so very quickly was affected by the status and fell so from the position of the stolen property. They were robbed by Mimo. He also discovered the presence of another person here opposite the public. The Lord also could not feel the presence of the hunting dogs anymore. Instead, there was a presence that was not strong but very annoying. The spirits were also trembling when she swung her sword and was hit by Memoji's paralysis. Seeing that she had murderous intent but not bad, Mimo just locked her movements. He said he was lost and didn't know the terrain of this place, so he wanted to ask her some information. The princess asked Memoji about the other four and said that he was not their accomplice. Seeing that, MJ immediately released the princess's mouth so she could communicate more easily. However, MJ did not let down his guard because on the way here, he met enough to make him lose faith in strangers. Viet. Then Princess asked Memoji if he had met a group of 4 men after Memoji said he had killed them. Princess was very surprised because they were more or less the holy guards. Memoji also followed her words that she still had a secret teammate so she could kill them. The princess believed her completely, seeing that she seemed confident when fighting. Memoji's answer is quite surprising. Although this girl doesn't seem to be a bad person, they both have their own circumstances, so Memoji decided not to get too involved with each other. The girl also agreed with that. It was thanks to her that Memoji knew that the place they were standing was not alley but a forest in the south of the UG kingdom. He also tried showing her the ancient texts in the ruins, even though she couldn't understand them. This character but knows there is a character once called the Forbidden, which because of possessing too much knowledge about the world's taboos that was considered dangerous and banished from his homeland. If he wanted to meet people, hey, Memoji must go to the Golden Devil Belt, which is a dangerous land located in the center of the continent. With Memoji, this is very valuable information. However, the princess still doesn't feel she is paid enough for the life-saving grace of Memoji. On the contrary, he wanted them to go their separate ways, so he didn't calculate the pros and cons. It was just that he judged this girl to be a more responsible person, and also overly honest, which made him think of the person who raised her. Memoji said after a few minutes the paralyzing effect will be removed, then just hope she can take care of herself. After he left, little Pai dared to show up. It seemed to be wondering about Mim forgiving. Let that girl make him explain that he is not a person who likes to massacre, he only kills those who deserve it. However, to prevent the girl from attacking, Mimori still assigned the task of keeping watch behind the little girl. On the other hand, since the holy guards have been defeated, the bounty for capturing the princess has increased continuously, which means that more dangerous forces will target her. Will she be lucky enough to survive again? Not at the local city named Mutaka had to present himself to the guards and said he was a mercenary. The guards thought he came here to join the conquest of the ruins, even though Choka was clearly a country bumpkin, but the guards still agreed let him pass because His Excellency the Marquis had orders to take in as many mercenaries as possible for the purpose of conquering the ruins. They did not bother to check the body and belongings, making it very convenient. However, the price of the room for renting here makes you feel this place is less friendly. Tsuei quickly said he would join the conquest mission, so he stayed here for quite a while. The owner immediately changed his attitude and welcomed you warmly. Tsuei quickly settled down. He decided to rest and go sightseeing through the town. The security here was quite good. As for the shops, they were typical of a typical adventure town. He noticed a place called the Adventurers Guild, but decided not to go in there for food. Although the taste here is a bit rough, for this Otherworld, one cannot ask for more. Tsuei was satisfied while eating and conveniently eavesdropping on the conversation of the guys drinking at the next table. They were discussing which force was stronger. Some people think it's the glorious battle group of the crazy American emperor. Because they heard that they have never lost a battle, some people think it's the White Wolf Knights, and some people think it's the Holy World Destroyer in the Western Kingdom. The country currently has the Demon War Knights, but everyone agrees that the strongest on the continent is the team that destroyed the Holy Kingdom. The Black Dragon Knights of the Bastian Kingdom are said to be stronger than the 5 Dragon Warriors. Across the country, they also have the so-called good human and the not-so-average assassin, bloodthirsty Taka. After listening to these people eating and discussing national affairs, Taka turned back to feed her slime the way. His next step was to find someone who could read the Forbidden Book. He planned to meet the Forbidden Witch in the Golden Demon Belt and then get the Monster Enhancement Potion to make Pimu stronger. Taka suddenly remembered the Marquis incident. Recruiting people to conquer the ruins, he flipped through the book and realized that in this new ruin there existed a monster called the Bone Ghost King, from whose bones powder could be used to make strengthening medicine, so the next morning Taka went to train. Trung and other mercenaries at the ruins of Mu, Marquis Lai announced that a new floor had recently been discovered in the ruins of Mu and wanted them to go explore it. Whoever found the treasure, the dragon anicap, would be immediately rewarded. The 300 gold coins and other treasures they brought back would all be purchased by the H, and the materials from the monster corpses could be used at will. The mercenaries quickly lined up to register. They noticed a blonde guy was bothering the cloaked girl because he could smell the scent of a beauty through her voice. He felt that she looked very much like the evil former knight commander of the Holy Kingdom. The other mercenaries started gossiping because she was now the blonde guy was hanged and took the opportunity to tell the story of how the former leader of the gang of traitors rejected his invitation to have dinner together. Thanks to the traitor's bad treatment, he decided to never forget his face and the pair of speakers. Terrible to confirm his accusation, he mentioned Asen's long pointed ears. He quickly flipped the opponent's hat to prove to everyone that he had discovered the former leader Tai. However, when he looked back, the girl in front of him only had a pair of normal human ears. Taka realized that it was the girl he met in the forest, and the blonde guy who had been fooled panicked. She introduced herself as me but not Asen. Everyone around immediately cursed the blonde was wrong and also said loudly the country guy didn't know where to get pants to wear, so had to run to Taka, then decided to go shopping for some jackfruit. Quickly asked why he was here. Is it because the Taka ruins mission told her to be careful because she accidentally made enemies with a guy? However, in this era, instead of being approached and loved, she was hated and shunned. Will be easier to live. Taka quickly asked her to help him with something. He needed to buy equipment to explore the ruins, but he was afraid of being ripped off by a scammer, so he wanted Mid to be able to be a consultant to go with him. Of course Taka would pay fee, and because he needed money, Mid accepted and the two quickly started working together. Taka realized that Mi was just her fake name, but he himself was also in a private situation, so Taka felt that they were also not really need to know each other's real names. Then follow Taka into the store to consult on shopping and bargain with the uncle and get paid very handsomely, which is the amount that Taka calculated herself to save. Thanks to her eyelids, she was able to accept it even though she felt a little hesitant. She was about to leave when she suddenly collapsed. CA quickly supported her and realized her body was very light. Looking at her dark eyes, her halo made him worried. He just said he was sleep deprived and quickly left. Taka put that aside for now because the priority was exploring the ruins. He went deep into the ruins and after a while, seeing two mercenaries running away from the attack of Minota's small monster, CA immediately immobilized it, used poison and added a knife to finish it off. The other mercenaries quickly realized what had happened. The monsters were defeated by someone one by one. Not only that, they also discovered the injuries from the inspection team on their bodies, so they were extremely surprised. CA took advantage of the moment when they weren't paying attention to sneak away and stopped to rest. Time is off. Check your stats while continuing to explore. CA accidentally overheard the conversation between the blonde guy and two other mercenaries. He wanted to hire them to kill MIT because she dared to embarrass him in front of everyone. He was extremely angry and just wanted to see MIT's desperate face so he could sleep well. The two mercenaries were also equally despicable when they wanted to play tricks on MIT, and then they shouted loudly. Listen to this bunch of trash. Said what we'll do with jackfruit to get revenge, then decided to come out and was scolded by him, making them want to make CA pay for daring to act like a good person. Originally, if someone died in the ruins no one would care. CA quickly reached out his hand, Sin and all three spared him. The blonde refused, because being a villain meant doing the right thing. He immediately paralyzed everyone and made them unable to move. He whispered into the blonde's ear, a scum. Like the hateful bunch he met before, Taka. Let them taste the poison and then revealed that it felt really refreshing to give jerks like them a lesson. The blonde swore to make him pay, making Taka laugh because he would no more chance. He coldly left, leaving 3 people to be torn apart by the monsters in the ruins. Soon only one more floor left and Taka would reach the deepest floor. He decided to rest for a while then go back to work, but unexpectedly, they just laid down and slept for 3 hours. On the way, they saw the Tiger Sword group planning to go home. The monsters suddenly died here, making them feel uneasy. All the monsters, strong and weak things, all die in the same strange way. Although they felt a bit regretful, their teammates' lives were more important, so they decided to retreat. The leader politely declined the invitation to leave with them. He hoped to CA can warn the other adventurers about this and leave. CA realizes the corpses they were talking about are actually his works. When this spreads, the number of mercenaries will surely decrease. Very convenient for him to work to the last room in the ruins. Here he found the dragon anicap, and next to it was a guard statue because as a comic addict to the big, CA knew everything. This is a monster ambushed him, immediately used paralysis magic to attack, then used poison to seriously injure the monster. To CA successfully took the cup, but the monster died. Not knowing what to do, Slime informed him that there was something wrong. The person turned out to be Jackfruit. She was slow because she had to stop to rest after killing a bunch of big monsters. She gave the cup to me and then pushed it into her hand. Me was very surprised because this thing was worth 300 gold coins. However, but this wasn't the thing Taka was after. He told her to pay attention to her sleep even though she was in a hurry, then turned around and left. He called Taka back. Because she couldn't take this thing, Taka opened a secret passage in the room and explained that his purpose was not the dragon anicap but the monster below. Coincidentally, it was on the right mission to find this cup. Hearing that, he immediately asked the boy to let him follow him to do it. She promised not to get in Taka's way. He saw her determined attitude and realized that she was someone who valued Nia very much. Taka gave the condition of avoiding questions related to his problem. He wasn't sure. We'll be back within the day, so if anything happens to you then Taka will be exempt from responsibility. You agree and swear to protect you with this body. Her fighting ability is very good as she can easily defeat big monsters. Big CA complimented and asked about the yellow-eyed monsters. He explained that they were monsters with a lot of experience points. For otherworldly warriors, they were suitable prey for leveling up. In addition, if you kill people whose experience points were not increased, Taka immediately understood that was the reason why the 4 holy guards paid him any points. He said that according to legend, only monsters affected by the evil king's element of the great the demon king will have golden eyes. At that time the violent instinct in them will be released. The combination of this golden color with the golden warrior will make you have a bad feeling when entering the next room. Nibao said he had a bad feeling. The presence of a monster always following them. Big CA knew it was his slime Pimu, so he quickly introduced it to her. He took out the Pimu for her to touch and told them to take a break. She told him she didn't. Why? But to CA is afraid that in the middle of the road she will collapse from lack of sleep. It will be very tiring for me. Mid heard that and decided to lie down and rest for a while. Tak ordered Pimu to attract Mid's attention and then used magic to put her to sleep. Just as he had a hunch when Mid's waist figure appeared, she was indeed the former knight captain Ain, and meanwhile the place where the 4 people from the Holy Guard were defeated were found, although their bodies were all eaten by monsters. Lost job. 4 people were taken down in a flash, surprising the pursuit team. Among them was the Guardlon, known as the ultimate human, who began to take an interest in Asen after his sleeping state was lifted. She immediately woke up and blamed herself for being so irresponsible as to dare to sleep while still in the Memoji Protection Covenant. On the other hand, to avoid feeling guilty, Memoji also pretended to sleep during her rest time. When coming to an empty room, Memoji suddenly felt something unusual. He told MIT Louis to go back immediately. Indeed, the monster in this room was not absent, but it was lying in ambush there, waiting for everyone to fall into the trap. This king skeleton seems to be much stronger than other monsters, although Jack knows its weak point is the silver part on its chin, but the king skeleton is not an opponent that normal mercenaries can face. Even the Tiger Sword Corps at this moment is not sure what to do. It suddenly became serious. She has a request to Memoji, that is, she will use a special form of power to temporarily increase her fighting power, and I hope the only person who witnessed this so far is Mimo. Please keep this a secret for me. Mike also not sure I can defeat this monster. In that case I want Memoji just run away, but before he could even act, Memoji used paralysis on the skeleton. The king said this monster was strong, but it was only stronger than the others in the ruins. Compared to him, it was as weak as a cat. This monster's role is exactly what Memoji is looking for. However, he couldn't explain everything to M. When the two were about to return to the ground, Baby Pie suddenly reacted and went in the direction of it pointed. Then Memori saw a bag he just touched, then the magic cloth glowed. Inside was a strange egg. Little Pie seemed very excited about this thing. He wanted Memori to bring the egg to the outside of the ruins. The other mercenaries were being chased mercilessly by the skeleton army. Everyone was scared except Azaka. She held a mace in her hand, determined to sacrifice herself to buy time for everyone to escape, but before she could do anything, Ozama the young man ran over to steal the credit and punched the skeleton. Right after that, Takuto also joined in. The two of them were good at fighting, but neither of them cared if the aftershocks of the blows would injure anyone else. If Azaka hadn't come to the rescue in time, the two girls nearby would have probably disappeared. However, Takuto was still extremely boastful, saying that the dry bones were quite strong, but unfortunately, he was even stronger because he had recently worked hard to plow the country. He had reached level 24 while Mid had brought out a dragon anicaps to the army, making everyone's eyes widen in surprise because this was the first time they had seen this legendary item. On the other hand, although Memoji finished his work in this ruin, but he still wanted to have a private talk with them, so he asked her to come to his room at 8 p.m. While waiting for Mid to arrive, Memoji used the powder crushed from SK's bones. The king made the monster enhancer. When it was done, it was just 8 o'clock. Mike arrived as promised, not a minute early, not late. Memoji said she wanted to hire her as a bodyguard if she wanted to earn some extra travel expenses, but surely after receiving the bonus earned from the dragon anicaps, it was enough. Of course, Memoji intentionally mentioned this so that Memoji, who values loyalty, would not be able to refuse his offer. Memoji said, "You." Wanting to meet the Forbidden Witch, he needed to go through the Golden Demon Belt. This is where monsters often attack in packs, so having a good fighter like me following him would make him feel more secure than me is on. The road to the Broken Kingdom is convenient. If you go through the Golden Demon Belt, you will see her still hesitating. Memoji continues to play the trick of calling you by your real name. She also unconsciously answers now, only to find out that he had already realized her identity. She hesitated because she was afraid of revealing her identity, so she used her spirit power to hide her presence, but had to sacrifice her desire to sleep, which meant that when she sleeps, she will return to her original form. The car is being chased by the Holy Knights because she accidentally let them see her true form. Luckily, those 4 guys were eliminated by Memoji, making the car's journey. It became a lot easier for her to tell the truth and reveal herself as a force, proving her trust in Memoji. At this point, he didn't want to use a fake name with the car anymore, so he said it. His real name is Talk Memoji, so both sides know each other's secret. No one can easily escape from this bond. Sha agreed to become Memoji's guardian, so he gave her a pill. The gem that was used as a salary was extremely shocked when it saw the stone that was taken out, because this was the Azure Dragon Stone, which was said to be born in a rare way from the legendary blue-eyed dragon. Now it is no longer in circulation. Its value is definitely far more than the dragon anicaps. Seireya said that this is not something that can be easily given as payment. Seeing her being so honest and straightforward, Memoji was even more determined to give her the Azure Dragon Stone. Tell her if she doesn't need it, then just throw it away, he told Seireya in front of others to temporarily call him Hi. He will also call her me Xegia. Of course he agrees because she is a person being chased, so there are many other secrets cannot tell him. Memoji does not care about those things because between him and XRA is only the relationship between bodyguard and tenant. The next day, when the two of them had dinner together at a restaurant, some named the other gossiping mercenaries started gossiping because they saw the Jia Din car coming to Memoji's room last night. These bastards could only think of that. They saw Jia Din's car beat them up. Memoji immediately told her to calm down and let them whatever you say. I also discovered a somewhat ignorant thing, which is that she has a habit of putting her hand on her chest every time she speaks. She is answering a question about Memoji's forbidden magic. Forbidden magic is a type of magic. The magic of Dai was forbidden by the goddess. If it was interpreted the other way around, it could be a dangerous magic for the goddess. The Dragon anicaps award party would take place in the morning, so the car said it would return to the inn before 1 o'clock in the afternoon. They temporarily separated. Memoji went to the nearby forest to start his monster enhancement experiment, and the car went to the marquee reward party to confirm whether the Dragon anicaps that the car brought back was the real thing. Invited an illusion magic expert to come, making her extremely worried for fear of revealing her identity on the other side. The goddess was talking to Azaka about how she used a healing magic to summon the spirit of her arm. About Saku, not everyone has this blessing. If Saku was not a level B warrior, then surely she would have left her alone. And the goddess also asked Azaka why she did not accept Takuo Azaka's invitation to join the group, because hates the way he shows off his strength regardless of the danger of others, but just tells the goddess that they don't get along. But the goddess thinks Azaka is being selfish and ruining the solidarity of class. 2C Azaka wants to argue there is no reason to say that they. Goddess thinks that every mistake with the warrior's way is her responsibility. Seeing the goddess crying and accepting responsibility, Azaka also finds it hard to refuse, but it is true that she cannot be on the same team as that cold-blooded guy was approved by the goddess. She promised to fulfill her duty as an S-class warrior, even if she didn't form a team. The goddess was just waiting for that moment and immediately handed over the warriors who couldn't pass the trial to Azaka. If they were trained by an S-class warrior, maybe they would be less useless. Azaka was immediately angry because this was breaking the contract that she and the goddess had discussed before. Azaka would fight on behalf of the people. Weaker in return, they will live like goddesses and use this excuse that the king has made a fuss so she can't do anything. If Azaka wants to protect her friends, then the only way is to make them stronger. However, if they still become a burden, then Azaka will be the one to take responsibility and receive a blow even more bitter than being eliminated. On the other hand, it has been more than an hour and Memoji still hasn't seen the car come back. He suspects she is hugging Long Thatch and running away, or something dangerous happened, and no matter how you think about it, it feels strange because if Seiji wanted to trick him, she would have done too many unnecessary actions. Suddenly he heard some gossipers outside. The road is talking about the person who found the Holy Grail yesterday is running away towards the Dark Forest. Now people are hunting her down for the bounty. Even the Black Dragon Knights have joined in here. When this fan comes out, the car is safe, there are many people, and they ride dragons from above, so they can easily detect where she is hiding. There are only a few people, so she can still use her spirit power to fight. She was able to block it, but due to the illusion breaking spell, the light spirits were in chaos, which meant the vehicle couldn't transform. She was almost exhausted from fighting the Black Dragon Knight without any equipment. The spirit also encountered the vice-captain of the 5 dragons. It seemed like he wanted to take her life, not just capture her alive and hand her over to the army. It turned out that his black squad had received an order. Seeing the beautiful and delicious leather car alone, he felt the desire to do dirty things. Anyway, he had to get rid of Miss Chi, so having some fun first wouldn't be a loss. Suddenly, he felt his body stiffen and he couldn't move. Moved away because Memoji used the paralyzing effect to escape danger, but she didn't understand why Memoji came here to make sure the words she was about to say weren't heard by that guy. Memoji used several effects in a row. He came out and apologized for his carelessness and said he could no longer be his guardian because she was being chased by the Black Dragon Knights. She said as she returned the Azure Dragon Stone to him. Memoji made him feel very annoyed. He showed her a whole bag of Long Stone that he had, instead of saying that he was already rich as hell, so she didn't need to care about the value of that stone. However, MJ asked her to take off her clothes, making her freeze for 5 seconds because she didn't understand what he was going to do. It turned out that MJ was afraid that the clothes on the car would be seen by the guards, so he wanted her to change into another set of clothes. To avoid revealing her identity, but because she talked nonsense, she scared the hell out of the car. Seeing that the car still hadn't agreed to escort her, Memoji had no choice but to ask her father to help her. The taboo which hid her presence so the Exegia wouldn't have to spend her whole life running away anymore. Memoji also wanted to go to the Golden Devil Belt to get information about the ancient texts so they could say that they had going the same way, and XRA agreeing to escort him only has benefits and no harm. Perhaps the reason why Memoji is kind to a stranger like XERA is because she has a personality and appearance very similar to her. What saved him from domestic violence and raised him as a child? If he abandoned the car, it would be like he abandoned someone after killing the Black Dragon. Mimo moved the target to the old goat just now. He said if he answered honestly, he would be spared. This coward immediately wanted to reveal who was behind the car chase. But before he could open his mouth, he was hit with a stick. Spear flew to block the throat in the direction the weapon was launched down. Memoji saw a group of dragon knights. They were out of his range. Memoji also immediately recognized the leader had white hair, white clothes and red eyes. He calling himself Sivat and being called by the world with the name of the Supreme Human. Sivat is the leader of the 5 dragon knights, but he only led 4 people here besides Lu. The king is always obsessed with the car because she has turned him from an old man near death into a young man full of vitality. The king did not regret letting the car escape, but when he thought about her being defiled by someone else, the old man was heartbroken. Just like being heartbroken in general, with the mentality of not being able to eat, he would destroy him. He used all his wealth to make the car disappear from this world. When he knew the truth, the car was extremely shocked. It turned out that the guy Civic had just stabbed was the 5th member of the 5 dragon knights. Civic didn't intend to destroy him either, but he was paralyzed by Memoji so he couldn't dodge the attack. He wanted to give the car as a reward to his subordinates instead of executing her, but was opposed by the king of the former Holy Kingdom. He demanded that the car's body be brought back in a state of conquest. If he brought the car out alive, he would not be able to. He couldn't rest assured to go to the grave because of the early morning, so Civet gave her a special favor. If she defeated Civet, she would be spared. He really wanted to try fighting Za's spirit once, but I don't know why, and at this moment all of his attention was focused on this pressure Memoji, making him feel like a sword was pointed straight at his neck. Even though he wanted to resist, he always felt like his opponent was outside. The human barrier. Supreme Civic is indeed a dangerous person, he is even stronger than the Soul Slayer, but for some reason Memoji can't stop laughing. He asked to talk to Civic in a situation where the two sides were about to fight, but it's a bit strange to ask each other's names, but after hearing it once, Civic immediately knew that Memoji was using a fake name and was plotting something. This guy's ache must be very good. Seeing Memoji standing in front of Ngulong Kai Si without fear, even smiling from ear to ear, Civic is still suspicious. If he and his gang just show a moment of weakness, they can be taken down by Memoji immediately. It's too early to end the show. This drama should have asked Memoji if he was looking for an opponent strong enough to satisfy him. If that was the case, why didn't he aim for a strong person that everyone knew? For example, the goddess of Allen. However, Kwak, his family had a close relationship with Siros. He also had high expectations for the warriors she summoned. If one of them could defeat the Demon King, wouldn't they be worthy opponents? With him, Civic exuded absolute confidence. He didn't think the car would win against him, so before she died, he wanted to tell her that Uncle Q suddenly changed his policy and attacked Naya. Because even though she had vaguely guessed that the destruction of Nia was related to her, she couldn't help but be surprised that the former king of the Holy Kingdom had refused the request to send her to that goddess and destroyed her. The entire Civic Holy Kingdom is eagerly awaiting Seiji's desperate struggle in fighting him, not knowing that Memoji has found a way for both of them to survive. Memoji says let me fight him because only with the power of protection, he can also reach the strongest position, and the key card to make him believe his next words is to tell his real name and identity as a warrior from another world. Civic, at first I was skeptical, but I didn't expect a hero to come all the way to Ali. Memoji felt that he couldn't lie too blatantly, so he said that among the summoned heroes he had a very special position. So he was separated by the goddess to a separate place. This is just another interpretation of how he was banished to the ruins by her bitterness. Half of the truth is not necessarily the truth. But Mimi is on a level completely different from the other heroes, is not a lie, specifically their level is higher than his. In short, Memoji has twisted enough things to make Civic believe that he is being specially favored by the goddess because as a very strong person he wants Civic to let him go because he will soon be stronger than now, to the point where he can take his life while saying Memoji and acting like a professional Hollywood actor. Civic asked him what he was going to do, how to become stronger. Then he said that going to the Golden Devil Belt because the goddess allowed him to act freely, so he will take a completely different path from the other warriors. Sooner or later he will return to the place of the goddess, so Civic doesn't have to fear that he will suddenly disappear. Civic believes Memoji is very much looking forward to the development of Memoji because there is nothing more enjoyable than crushing a strong person. Just like that, Memoji has been released. Go, but the car out. Then no, Memoji does not agree with this because he needs to borrow the power of the car out to reach the Golden Devil Belt. To get the power he will take advantage of the car out simply like that. Here, see the truth, Memoji's stubbornness became stronger, so Civic expected him to decide to let the whole car go despite his teammates' objections because here he is the only one, so following him means living, but opposing him means dying. So no, who dares to disobey anymore? Civic ordered all the Black Dragon Knights to not touch the car. When Memoji left, he acted as happy as if he had found gold, not knowing that Mimo had just put a string through his hole. The nose led away like a chow, so Civic just flew to a distance where he couldn't fight back but was still within the range of Memori imposing the state. Then he immediately attacked Civic. Is Civic spicy or not spicy? Can Civic do anything? No, because he and his gang are all paralyzed and have a series of other damaging effects. Memoji doesn't intend to have long-term relationships with these guys because this is a revenge movie, not a character type. The main character is a good gentleman, and the best way to take revenge is to destroy the seeds that can prevent it from happening. Civic is as spicy as eating chili when being deceived, but can only lie still and wait to die because of the deadly poison. Slowly eating away at his body, perhaps the usual struggle has turned into a struggle of endurance. On one side is Memori's energy, on the other side is Civic's health bar. As long as one side reaches 0 first, the other will be left. Of course he will win. No one has ever been paralyzed and poisoned and still been able to struggle like Civic, so to be sure, Memoji will not leave until his last breath. Unexpectedly, while he was struggling, he was able to send a distress signal to the other teams. Memoji told the car to go ahead, but she chose to stay because as a bodyguard, she couldn't run ahead of her master. That said, meaning she received the Dragonstone and agreed to the deal with Mimo. While later the Black Dragon Knights came and saw Civic lying on the ground, they couldn't believe their eyes. Civic tried to hold back the pain to warn his junior fox was only allowed to attack Memoji from a distance and not get close to him, but that was useless because Memoji was connected to the special state he got after strengthening the monster. Of course, to using it also consumes a huge amount of megapixels, but for a battle that only needs to be won in a flash like this, it is very suitable after combining with the little pie Memoji who can take advantage. Of slams long wings to open wide range of combat, little pie's arm touches wherever the enemy is, but yes, there is no way the civet can predict this through the conversation between civet and his comrades. Memoji can confirm the character these guys' personalities are all so rotten that even if you kill them 100 times, you won't regret it. When the sounds of suffering had stopped, the civet was surprisingly still alive. He wanted to know who Memoji was after receiving the sentence. Reply that Memoji is not a hero with any noble purpose but just someone who wants revenge. Then civet can rest assured because he has left Min Bak Xgia. I don't know why a person like Memoji sometimes revealing such a gentle expression. She told Memoji about the brave assassin. This is a character who is said to one day surpass even the ultimate human being. He will most likely find Memoji to avenge civet, but suddenly Memoji asked if the dragon that the 5 dragon knights rode was different in size from the others. If so, then maybe he would have also destroyed the brave blood assassin and gone out to listen. But shocked because everything was resolved when she did not know. On the other hand, the subordinates of the goddess Vyas had come to supervise the heroes, but Azuma did not believe that a seemingly weak girl like Nien could. What did he do? So he foolishly ran out to provoke him and was eventually beaten down by Nien. Nien's attack speed was so fast that no one understood what was happening. They only knew that after that, Nien told everyone to return to the kingdom. No one dared to say anything. On the other side, Memoji also told him that she wanted to take revenge on Al's goddess. Unexpectedly, Sayare had suspected her before and agreed to let him use her power to fight against Memoji, afraid that this will not be the righteous path that Xera wants to take, but she simply wants to repay Mimo's life-saving grace, so as long as he thinks it's right, then that's the way it is. She was willing to risk her life to complete it. Mimi only said sorry to Sayare and said that he would repay her favor later. Because he was a very generous person, if there was a favor, he had to repay it. The news of the 5 Dragon Knights' destruction had reached the ears of the kings. The White Wolf King of the Mana Kingdom could not believe that the Supreme Human had died, but the War Horse of the UG Kingdom said that he had received the body. The 5 Dragon Knights' body and confirmed this on the side of the goddess Ali. Vyas also only knew that the 5 Dragon Knights were killed in the battle when chasing the chariot out of the Fright Horse King said that he found a piece of blood-stained cloth that was given. The car lost such a large amount of blood that it can be inferred that she was seriously injured or even died somewhere. By the way, yesterday the Holy King Ocha passed away. I heard that he also lost before losing his mind. Ali didn't care about someone who had sacrificed his country. They only needed to know that the strongest force to fight against the great demon emperor was now in sight. This was the greatest loss of the Holy Alliance, so from today, the role of the heroes from the Otherworld must be last night. The American fanatic of the Empire said sarcastically that maybe Ali was the mastermind of this incident. Because when the source of evil appears, the countries will be forced to must depend on Ali. Now the goddess Vyas immediately showed her holiness that everything in this world is affected by the evil king and cannot exert its full power. Doing so would not bring any benefits to the crazy American king. Asked her if she knew about the story of the god's murder. Shu said that it had nothing to do with the Holy Conference, so the meeting continued. Everyone was not sure if the car that came out was the culprit of the 5 Dragon Knights incident. Right now someone has come forward to take responsibility. They call themselves the Asin Magicians Guild. On the other hand, Memoji and Seza have gone to a town in the north. They also did not find any trace of the town they were chasing. They are in a place called Blood Gladiator. Trung is a place where slaves and mercenaries fight each other. The fighters are called Blood Gladiators. They fight for rewards. This place is run by the Duke of UG, and today's Mercenary Association is a pastime of the rich. But initially such matches were only intended to assess the strength of the mercenaries to save on travel expenses. Rhea thought they should hire a Memoji room. Reminded her that she was also a man. Driving a car was even more enjoyable, but she didn't dare to show it. After booking a room, they went to a restaurant. This place was truly worthy of being called the capital, crowded everywhere. Bustling during the meal. Memoji can hear people talking about XRA. They say XRA died in the battle with the 5 Dragon Knights and Ein is the guild that defeated the strongest human. They are spreading knives everywhere where they defeated the 5 Dragon Knights with their curse. Hearing is not as good as seeing. A group of people in red suddenly appeared at the restaurant where Memoji and Zra were eating. They claimed to be people of Asin's group of magicians who worship the god Mui. As soon as they arrived, they forced everyone to give way. They looked at them like they were a bunch of clowns, not posing any danger. But if they admitted to destroying the 5 Dragon Knights, it's more convenient for Memoji. But there are still some people who believe that if anyone can destroy the 5 Dragon Knights, it can only be the famous dragon slayer of the Blood Arena or the Forbidden Witch, not those clowns. Saw them talking about the Forbidden Witch. Memoji came to talk to gain their trust. He paid for the drink that day. They started talking that the strongest blood fighter ever said met the Forbidden Witch. If Nji wants to meet, she can talk to Duke Duan to ask for AS at the Blood Arena. But Memoji seems to be lucky today because Manji's strongest blood fighter happened to come to this restaurant. The reporter's name is Eva. Sarat Memoji used the old trick again to invite the beauty a glass of wine and introduce himself as a mercenary. This girl seemed friendlier than she appeared. She told Memoji that if she had something to say, just say it, so Memoji asked directly. "See, does Eva know where the Forbidden Witch lives?" It's not true that she has been to the Golden Devil Belt, which is considered the place where the Forbidden Witch lives. But she has never met the witch and doesn't know where that person lives. Eva asked Memoji why he wanted to meet the Forbidden Witch. She said his dream was to be a scholar, so he wanted to hire a mercenary to escort him to meet the witch. Eva didn't think Memoji could survive more than 3 days in the ring Yellow Devil Belt. She said Memoji was still young, so he should cherish his life, although the advice of a bloodthirsty fighter who sold his life for a reward like her didn't seem very credible. Through the conversation between the two of them, the spirit told the car that Iza was lying. She really knew where the Forbidden Witch was. When she returned home, Memoji found out he forgot to bring food for baby Pie, so it seemed to be sulking because he was too talkative. He had to use the bag that the goddess gave him to get food for the baby. Pai Seiji also tried the food taken out from it and was surprised because the food in Memoji's world was so delicious. He was also very want to let the car out to eat more, but unfortunately this thing Memoji cannot create itself. Looking at the bag of cakes that the car out, also see that it is extremely beautiful. At this time the wind from outside the window blew and making her hair fly. Memoji was suddenly captivated by the beauty of the car and said strange things often become more beautiful in the eyes of others. After eating, baby Pie became flexible again. They began to discuss a plan to dig up information, and Eva Memoji doesn't know what the most important thing after life is. Gladiator blood, of course. Money. Aren't they fighting just for the prize money? That night Eva came to find a white-haired girl tell her to be patient a little longer because Eva promises to take her away from the blood gladiator's prison. On the other hand, X is showing Memoji how she uses her spirit costume, even though every time he sees her he looks like looking at the transformation scene in The Magical Princess and Enchant Eye. Say Ra's swordplay is extremely flexible. The strongest human has to consider her as an opponent. There is also a reason why she teaches close combat to Memoji. A right decision, because now he is too dependent on skills. Suddenly Memori remembers the days when he was a Holy Knight captain she also used to instruct the team members. Like now she told Mimo to attack, but this sentence said in the situation of a man and a woman alone in a closed room is easy to misunderstand. Luckily, Memoji is not that kind of person. He started to attack with the car but was quickly forced by her technique. This shoulder lock doesn't require a weapon and doesn't cause damage. When they find out they're in too much physical contact and accidentally sweat on Memoji, making her very embarrassed. She asks Memoji if she mind if given direction. Lead this way. Of course he didn't mind. Then the car out just immersed more in that feeling of closeness. While doing laundry she unconsciously sniffed a basic line on Memoji's clothes, not knowing if it smelled like armpits. Took 2 long puffs and suddenly Memoji appeared. He didn't know he was standing there. He pretended to be innocent. It turned out that Memoji couldn't find his clothes, so she went to look for them. She found a car and was doing laundry for him. I don't mind letting her wash it from now on. Memoji intended to study when Sayare slept but was accidentally attracted to her. It turns out that this is what a decent person looks like. Sayare is trying her best to be his sword, even having to restrain his emotions. He should be grateful for that. The sound woke the car up. Thinking Memoji couldn't sleep, she gave him herbal medicine to help him sleep better. She had 3 with different uses, including a bottle that makes people more excited. Speaking of this, the car suddenly turned red in the face and apologized to Memoji because she had no bad thoughts when she brought that bottle of medicine. Well, speaking of herbs, Memoji has something to try. He gave Xra a cup of instant soup and told her to add herbs to it to see what effect it had. Seiji poured a little too much, so she chose a cup with darker color. She said this herb will help people become more alert, but the car owner suddenly realized she had poured the wrong bottle of spring medicine. Then Memoji's heart started beating faster even though he tried to stay calm too, reading a book, but when seeing her hot body, I still blushed. Looking at her expectant face, I suspect it was all a pre-planned plot because when Memoji took a breath to calm down and then left reading a book, then X-Ray asked him if he was resistant to temptation. Memoji also said he was very excited, no joke, but his biggest priority right now is revenge on the goddess. Can see this as a type of curse that when broken, he can focus on other things. The family immediately knelt down and said they would do their best to remove the curse for him. That was what everyone had been waiting for. It didn't happen. The next day they went to the blood arena to scout as expected. Everyone loved to talk about Blood Gladiator Eva. She was originally a slave sold into the Blood Gladiator world. In the past 3 years she never lost. Tomorrow will be Eva's last match because she has earned enough money to buy her freedom, so it will be very difficult to buy Eva with money. But here is an interesting information that 2 years ago she has earned enough money to save herself, but there is still one person she wants to save from the blood arena. There is also another piece of information that most of the strongest gladiators will die in the final battle. Their end is because they have to fight an extremely tough opponent, Moreover, the management of the blood arena will use tricks to make things difficult for the strongest fighters.